Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just pray, Father, that your Spirit be among us tonight, Lord. Tonight we are talking about an issue that is very concerning to our county, Lord, that is important to many of us, Lord, and there's all kinds of views and all kinds of opinions on either way, Lord. So, Lord, we pray for your Holy Spirit, Lord, to guide us, to help us as we make decisions tonight, Lord, to help us as we discuss the topic tonight, Lord. Let us discuss this in a way that is pleasing to you, Father. Lord, we love you and we praise you and we thank you for always having your hand over this country, this world, this nation, our community, Lord. We couldn't do it without you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So again, welcome to tonight's meeting. I just want to open up with, this is a special meeting tonight, and there will be an opportunity for you all to give public comments. If you all would, please just, let's keep this respectful. There's a lot of information that's out there that we just want to, try to get this evening and clarify, and, at the same time, understand the need that we have here in Bradford County for our fire department. And it's a need that we've had for a long time. And some of you have been here for a long time, and you've been through the volunteer years, and now just most recently, when the sheriff was helping us out with fire, and he did an outstanding job with it, and was able to put together somewhat of a hybrid system. And then within the last 6 months, Director Alan Parrish and Ben Carter and Dylan Rogers have done what we consider an outstanding job with fire and rescue. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll just open it up to the board, see if the board has any comments. Mr. Reddick?
Not this time. No.
Ms. Andrews?
Not this time.
Okay.
Is it on?
Okay.
Not at this time.
Ms. Thompson?
No.
Ms. Miller?
No comment at this time.
Okay. So again, these are our action items, and we'll just move forward, and we'll turn it over to our county manager, county attorney, Mr. Will Sexton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were much briefer than I planned to be, but I'll try to keep my presentation as brief as well. Just as an introduction and background, as you alluded, in 2018 and 19, the county's fire budget based on the volunteer service system was just over $500,000. And we tracked a nationwide trend, as the board is aware, that the volunteer service was no longer viable based on requirements that the state had for firefighter certification, which were the same for volunteers as they were for paid professionals. And we reached a point where the county just could not sustain a volunteer system and provide a meaningful response to the public. On May 16, 2019, the Board of County Commissioners transferred operation of the fire department to the sheriff. Following that transfer, a series of fund transfers were made from the board's budget to the sheriff's budget to assist with his fire operations. And as you can see, I won't go through each one, but at the end, it represents a minimum contribution by the board for fiscal year 1920 of $1,236,941, which went from the board to the sheriff to fund fire operations. In August of 2020, in anticipation of building the budget for the 2021 fiscal year, the sheriff provided the board with 2 proposed budgets for fire operations. The first option had 4 full-time firefighters and a total of 21 employees and a budget of $1.6 million. The second option had 6 full-time firefighters, a total of 28 employees, and a budget of $2,057,000 and some change. Shortly after that, on August 20th, the fire department was transferred back to the Board of County Commissioners with an effective date of October 1st. At that time, the board created a combined fire rescue department, appointed Alan Parrish as fire rescue director, and approve the combined fire rescue budget for this fiscal year 2021 of $5,975,147. In the 7 months since then, Director Parrish, Fire Chief Ben Carter, and EMS Chief Dylan Rogers have built a fire rescue department staffed by paid professionals, which has already established a reputation of excellence. They respond to an increased number of emergency calls and continue to provide an exceptional level of service. The fire rescue department pays salaries which are commensurate with those of other similarly situated small rural and neighboring counties. That includes Alachua, Baker, Clay, and Union. The employees in all of those counties, as well as almost every county in the state, with the exception of Union County, have fire rescue employees who are members of the union. The staffing model we use provides fewer firefighters on each response and is currently recommended to meet the minimum safety standards for motor vehicle accidents and structure fires. The number of firefighters employed by our department now is less than the proposed number of employees in that $2 million budget that the sheriff proposed for this year. And our fire rescue department maintains a fleet of vehicles which are primarily hand-me-downs from either the sheriff's office or the public works department, including, as I indicated, the fire rescue department has not purchased a single new vehicle other than an ambulance with county funds, and the newest vehicle used by the fire rescue department is a 2014 vehicle, which was a hand-me-down from the sheriff's office. Director Parrish is here tonight to make a brief presentation on the current fire rescue department operation, which we believe adequately meets the needs of Bradford County without excess, and which closely parallels the operation designed for the board in 2018-19, as well as the operation utilized by the sheriff between May of 2019 and October of 2020. The presentation by Director Parrish will outline the current operational structure of our fire rescue department and will provide an overview of the current call volume and the response required for our EMS and fire units. At the conclusion of his presentation, I will provide the board with a few additional comments on the proposed direction following tonight's meeting. Ms. Bradley has advised, I appreciate that if I back up, when the board created this combined fire rescue department in August of 2020 for the 2020-2021 fiscal year, of that $5,975,000, only $1,835,771 was for fire. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to turn it over to Director Parrish.
Thank you, Mr. Sexton. Mr. Parrish.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I will keep my comments brief. I know there's a lot of citizens here from Bradford County that want to be heard, and you folks from here hear from me on a regular basis. I just want to provide kind of a summary, an overview of what we're doing in the fire rescue department, so the members of the public that are here know what the lay of the land is as far as what we're providing in the county. As you all know, I give you an update every month at board meetings and a quarterly report that outlines the service, but for the benefit of those that are here tonight, I just want to share something. Since October 1, well, let me back up just a minute. September, as Mr. Sexton just said, of 2020, this board tasked me with creating a fire rescue department. This board gave me a budget of $5.9 million to do that. We're 6 months in as of April 1st. We've done exactly what you tasked us to do. We're 4% under budget. We responded to 4,141 calls, and we've seen a 60% increase in call volume in the same time period. I'll repeat that, 4,141 calls that the men and women of Fire Rescue have responded to in Bradford County. And we've remained in budget. We've done what you asked us to do. The lay of the land right now, we were asked to do. Over the past 5 years, I've watched, I've listened, I've been a part of conversations and strategy conversations to figure out how we could serve the public in Bradford County. I've watched this very same process no less than 2 other times. And in each time, a lot of misinformation has been provided. So I hope tonight that we can actually provide the facts for any questions and that we have the opportunity to support the men and women that are responding in Bradford County. This year, we're on track to run 8,200 and some odd calls. That's 8,200 and some odd people in Bradford County. When they pick up that phone and call 911, they expect somebody to show up. The decision that we're going to make here tonight, and I say we because I'm part of it, has a life or death consequence. It's not up to me to figure out how to fund it. That's up to you. I work for you. I serve at your pleasure. And to my knowledge, unless somebody tells me differently, we've done exactly what you've asked us to do. I'm here. I'm available. I'm always available to you to answer any questions. My books are open, and I'm glad to explain anything that you would like for me to explain tonight here in a public forum. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parrish. Mr. Simpson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could pick up from there, again, just briefly, back to a brief bit of background. On September 8th, 2020, following the transfer of the fire department from the sheriff back to the board, then County Manager Rachel Roden made a presentation to the board advising them that the funds necessary to operate the fire rescue department for fiscal year 2021, which were approximately $1,311,787, would have to come from the board's unassigned fund balance or reserves, and that's where they came from for this year. Ms. Roden further advised the board at that time that utilizing those reserves to fund the fire rescue department was not sustainable, and that moving forward, the board would need to undertake a discussion of some other method for finding a reliable source to fund fire rescue department. As we've begun the process of developing the fiscal year 21-22 budget, we realized it's now time to have that discussion. We can no longer afford to continue to fund fire rescue just from our reserves. In order to determine the best option or options for funding fire rescue, staff recommends and is asking the board tonight to re-engage the services of Chris Rowe and Bryant Miller Hall. Mr. Rowe specializes in advising local government clients in a wide array of revenue generating and implementing mechanisms, including special assessments and municipal service benefit and tax payments. Mr. Rowe and his team assisted the board in developing a framework for a fire assessment in 2018, a service for which the board already paid VMO and for which the board will not have to pay again. I anticipate if the board elects to authorize us to proceed with re-engaging Mr. Rowe and VMO tonight, he will first meet with staff to develop a presentation to the board, which is tailored to our specific needs and which does at least 2 things. 1, provides the board with options for funding our fire rescue department, and 2, with respect to a possible fire and/or EMS assessment, provides specific detail for the board on how each individual property in Bradford County would be assessed. To be abundantly clear, we're not prepared tonight to tell you any numbers. We're simply unable to do that. That's why we require the engagement of Mr. Rowe or a similar consultant to provide that service. All we know is, as I've presented and Mr. Parrish has presented, we believe the fire rescue department that we have now adequately meets the needs but does not exceed the needs of Bradford County. And we're comfortable with that size and scope of service. We're comfortable with the budget for what that costs. And now we have to figure out a way for the board to pay for it. All we're proposing tonight is for the board to authorize us to move forward with the development and collection of more and better.
I just want that to be clear. Again, we as a board understand the need to fund our fire department. And again, it's been a need for a long time. So, while we're here tonight, to hear from the folks, from public comments from the public, and then also answer the other questions, as Mr. Sexton said, from either from himself or from any of the fire department chiefs and also our director. So that being said, we'll move on to the action item, and we will need a motion at this point to authorize and re-engage the services of Mr. Rowe at Bryant Miller Hall to determine what that's going to look like for a funding source.
I like second.
We have a motion from Ms. Andrews,
Second.
second from Commissioner Thompson. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just discussion, clarification, you said that the county would not encumber any fees from this consulting firm.
That's not true. There will be a fee. The fee was broken into two phases. Phase one, development, which is what we paid the last time, and that's what we won't pay again. Mr. Rowe will provide a cost estimate for the second phase, which we didn't pay before because the board elected not to proceed with implementing the assessment. If the board elects to proceed with implementing the assessment this time, then we would incur that second or additional fee. But right now, there's no additional fee because it's already been paid the last time.
And what was that?
I'd have to look it up. Best recollection is it's in the neighborhood of $40,000. What I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, before you vote, we do have to have public comments.
Okay, I thought we had public comments coming later.
In my agenda, we had public comments a little bit later on, so, but, okay, so moving forward. All right, so at this time, we will ask for public comments. I do have public comment cards in front of you. So again, if you have a public comment, you'd like to make a comment, please get that filled out in the back and bring it up to the front. So at this time, we will accept public comments based on the action item. So do we have any public comments?
Yeah, do we get to know what the fee is? You got the cards, right? Is that what
We have not, we haven't discussed that.
So how can-
We're not at that point yet.
I guess I'm kind of,
So if this is your public comment, sir, please come forward and give us your
it's a
public
question,
comment.
it's not really a comment.
Okay.
My question is, as was asked, what is the fee that you guys are seconding on that nobody knows?
So we have there was a phase one and a phase two. The phase one of the moving forward with the assessment was the 40,000, I believe it was. And then Mr. Sexton or Ms. Rhodes, do you recall what the phase two portion of that was?
It's in the neighborhood of $40,000.
Okay.
But the board doesn't have to pay that unless you elect at some future meeting to impose the assessment. That's the cost for the consultant. And the board says, the Board of County Commissioners of Bradford County, Florida desires to impose an assessment on the tax roll to fund fire or EMS services. Then the consultant has to do work to provide you with the resources you need to impose that. So right now, you're not incurring any additional cost because you've already paid that. The consultant would have to come back to the board and say, when you're ready to move forward with imposing the assessment, now is when you agree to pay the consultant approximately $40,000 additional dollars to impose the assessment.
Okay. So we're not at that point yet. So we're just at the point right now to discuss, moving forward, if we are, as a board, going to decide to go, with an assessment. And then we'll go into that phase two.
Yes, but I think that the public comment cards would be, I think now is the time that they want to.
Okay, I just have two public comments on my agenda. There was one under that item, and then there's also a special section here for public comments. So if nobody here has any comments based on what we just discussed, then I'll move forward with the public comments, the cards that I have here. Okay, so starting out, and again, you'll have 3 minutes for your public comment. And Mr. Joel Leva,
That was me.
that was you. Okay, Mr. Leva.
So, again, in the interest of complete transparency, my feeling is that, at any point moving forward, I think that everything needs to be defined and declared beforehand. Again, I'm not real clear on the, 40,000 was paid for what was already done, but if this person is gonna come back and advise, if the board wants to rehire him to move to phase two, there's an additional fee. Is that my understanding?
That is correct.
And the additional fee is gonna be,
Minutes, thank you.
On the public,
Just
on the
leave it
public
open for a
comment,
minute.
on the public comment, is this the only opportunity that we have to speak out? Because is this the only thing that is going to be up for comments on tonight? This moving forward at this particular juncture, or is there going to be an opportunity to speak throughout however this goes on?
Yeah, there will be further opportunities as we decide as a board what direction we're going to go in, and then also, what funding sources that we have that are available to us. So whether it's through a fire assessment, whether it's through an SDU, whatever funding source that is, as the board gets to that point, then yes, there will be further discussions from the public, for the public to be able to comment on where the board is at that time.
So when would a follow-up meeting be on this? How long of a process is this going to take to decide, one, if the board is going to move forward with this, and actual implementation of whatever the board decides to move forward with, if they do?
Well, we'll continue to discuss it for sure, because, we have to, as we move forward, figure out how we're going to fund this, in the coming years. So there will be further discussion, and so we'll discuss it probably from here on out at each meeting to determine where we are and what steps we want to take and what the next steps are.
Okay. And are there further numbers available? I know that some of it was shared, the cost moving forward as to what was paid. I saw it on the screen there, but is there any information that we can get to take home, or is there a website or something with the actual numbers as to how many firefighters and the actual expense there was? I mean, all I got when I walked in this morning was this, or today was this.
I'm happy to provide that to the county manager's office and they can put it on the website as you choose, Mr. Chairman. That's up to you.
Right. Yeah, so, and I think, just as you said earlier, in full transparency, then that's what we'll do. We'll have that information about.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving forward. So folks, if you would just come to the front, speak into the microphones, state your name, your address for the record. So I have, looks like Tex Johnson.
Tex Johnson, 2936 Southeast 130th Street, Stark, Florida. My concerns are this: we definitely got to fund the fire department. We're growing, we're getting bigger, it's got to be done. But we also are skipping higher paid teachers, which is desperately needed in this county. More sheriffs, pass that on to their customers. A $50 a month increase on some of these families put them into HUD housing, raising their kids in a drug-infested environment. They're going to run this county, and we're going to have to live with that when we're too old to do it. I'm just asking that y'all keep that in mind. The small businesses may be less and a slow increase. You want to go to dinner tonight? Don't plan on any certain restaurant because they may not be open. They can't find help. They're fixing to have minimum wage increases over the next, 5 years. They're dealing with COVID, and now we're talking about adding another expense to them. They're going to close down. What happens to the county 10 years from now without them? That's no jobs. Where do they go? My personal opinion, residences, I should be paying $1,000 a month property taxes. I got no problem with that. I want more sheriffs. I want more police officers. I want more EMS. I want a better funded fire department. If my house catches on fire, I want to know they're going to be there. It costs money.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, thank you.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Fairclough. Mr. Fairclough? Oh, there he is.
Good evening. Gary Faircloth, 2142 Southeast 30th Street, Melrose, Florida, in Bradford County. First of all, we have a big hole in the roof here in Bradford County. And all of us live inside that building, and we've got to fix the hole in the roof. It's going to cost money, of course, to fix the hole in the roof, but we all have to fix the roof, okay? I'd like to commend our fire department for what they do. Mr. Parrish, you've done an outstanding job. And so have all of our firefighters and rescue people. I've actually had that happen at my own home, and their response time is great. I did a little research, and from the census pulled up that we have approximately 27,000 people living in Bradford County. If that's correct, 5,400 of them are children. Your projection, Mr. Parrish, is that we're going to have 8,000 plus calls this year.
Yes, sir.
That's a third of what our population is. 1 in 3 of us are going to be called. They're going to have to call for something. Doesn't matter if you cut your finger, they're still going to come, right? If we're all in this together, then all of us have to share in it. So I ran some numbers. I eliminated the 5,400 children. And if each person is taxed on themselves, it will cost you $100 a year. That would give you a budget of $2,160,000 for the 21,600 adult people that are here. If you charge each person $50 a year, tax just basically like we're doing with the garbage tax, that would give you $1,080,000 a year in increased revenue. It's just something for this board to possibly think about. We don't need to try to hurt businesses. You know, do we go down here and tax an insurance company on the square footage of their building because of what they have? And Mr. Riddick, I'm not going to pick on you, but you have a cabinet shop and you have heavy, equipment in there that's dangerous. So you're more accident prone or have an accident happen at your shop than somebody in an insurance company would, correct? You think so? Okay. So why should we tax you more than what we would do an insurance company? Or why would we want to penalize any of our businesses in Bradford County? Same thing with Mr. Thompson with his garage. He has accidents that happen down there, and I'm sure he does. He has a garage. And so that's really something that all of us need to think about is what are we going to do with our problem? Are we going to get our problem fixed? That's to me is what we need to do. And we need to think about how we're going to generate the revenue to
Yes,
do
sir.
this.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Faircloth.
and can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
If we get to this point, I would like to see each one of you commissioners, which by the way, all the commissioners have to pay this whatever tax is going to be increased to because they all live here. So that you're going to be taxed yourself. So remember, you're taxing yourself too. If we could, the possibility of each one of you selecting a person from your district to start a fire board that would work with Mr. Parrish on a monthly basis, meet with him, whatever his needs are, see what we can do to come up with a solution for buying new equipment or whatever he may need. Then he can bring it back to the budget, to the board and say, hey, we have a proposal. We need a new rescue squad, or we need equipment for new hoses or whatever. And our board has looked at this, and we found a really nice used fire truck in Pinellas County, and they want to get rid of it. So let's go look at it. Let's go see what it is. These people on your board, your fire board, would go and look at the equipment and see what kind of condition the equipment's in, and see if the equipment's worth purchasing. You don't have to buy everything brand new. So just some thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Roden.
W.C. Roden, 20765 Northwest State Road 16. Tomorrow I'll be here 77 years. This is a poor county. Quit killing the people in this county that cannot afford any more taxes. I don't give a hoot what it's for. Every one of y'all draw good money. Have you thought about donating it back to the county, the one that you're supposedly representing? I'm not going to point my finger at the fella, but my county commissioner passes my house twice a day, every day that he's been in office and when he run. And he's yet to stop at my house and ask me one damn question. Not the first one. Is that right? No. If you people want to represent the people in Bradford County, go out in your districts, talk to them people. How many of you do that? One hand showed up. Now the rest of you need to be kicked out of office if you can't go out and talk to the people that you're representing. If you look at the Constitution, that's taxation without representation, what you're doing. And these people in Bradford County cannot afford it. There's too damn many of them on food stamps. And it's just not right. And I hope the Lord will look at you one night and tell you it's not right to treat people this way and slap you around until you get yourself right with the Lord, and then you'll start treating his people right. If you want to make some money, why don't you charge impact fee more than what you do now? To all them people that's coming from New York or wherever they're moving out of down to Bradford County, charge them a more impact fee. That will make up your money. My understanding, they're building a bunch of homes in Bradford County, according to John Crawford. So you can't tell me I'm lying about it. Charge impact fees. Raise your money that way. Quit slapping the poor people around. Or get out of office and put somebody in there that will represent the people of Bradford County. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mitchell Gunner.
Mitchell Gunner, 584 Southeast 71st Street, Stark, Florida. I also was at the last county commissioner meeting and brought up impact feeds and done some math. And if you do a 3,000 impact feed here in our community on a new house, that's only $8 a month that person would pay on their mortgage. You know, $8 on a $500, $600, $800 mortgage, they're not ever going to see that. And that'll help fund our fire department. Now, I did talk to Mr. Sexton, and I do understand that those impact fees will have to be used in those certain areas, but that's a way to help Mr. Parrish move his budget around and help in certain areas. I mean, we're fixing to have a lot of homes built at the Sampson Lake area. You figure in the guy builds 200, 250 homes out there at $3,000 a home, that's a pretty good chunk of change. And another thing that we need to start doing in Bradford County is we need to start working on our infrastructure outside of the city of Stark so we can actually start bringing some businesses in here. We can use those taxes from those businesses, and also that will bring more people into the area. More people you got, the more tax money revenue that you raise, and that could be split in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, I do also believe that we need to go ahead and bring those impact feeds back to Bradford County. I'm not asking the board to raise them $14,000 like they have over in Clay County. I don't even know what they got over in Alachua County. But we can't put those impact fees in. Keep them to a certain minimum and generate that revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Billy Rayburn?
One thing, if you give me about 5 minutes, that's what you give Mr. Parrish.
I mean,
Over there? Okay, thank you.
we-
Thank you, Chris.
We shortened the time because we
I know.
thought we would have more comments.
Right.
We certainly want to stay within the timeframe of the meeting, just so everybody knows that. So,
That's what comes from the office over there. $311,000. That's for your retirement, insurance, and all that. That's $62,000 you divide it out per person for a part-time job. People that average Bradford County salary is only $24,000 a year. So, we cannot kill for it. McClenny talking about the fire. Plus, they encouraged these boys over here to get the union to come in and get the union going with the fire department and the rescue. Encouraged them. How in the world do you leaders encourage somebody to get a union going for to fight y'all? The $15 an hour has not come into effect yet. This is an open check. Open check. It ain't gonna be just 75 this year, but we gotta put a cap on it. Until we grow, you don't get no more money. If the county grows, we're not growing. We had to close down Burger School and grab because we had the kids that fill it. We're shrinking. McClenny has $85. Excuse me, mouth getting dry now. $85 for a fire assessment. Okay? $85. And the one thing, if you want to save money, call up Century ambulance service over there. Come get your bid. Privatizing it. They saved Lake City $3.5 million. $3.5 million they saved Lake City. Taylor County has went the same way. They can't afford. Private rescue is not a small county cannot afford it. You know it and I know it. So, but not only listen to them, but you just start listening to us. I would say get a board of some men, of businessmen, and sit down with them. It seems like you already had your mind made up by voting. Go ahead and do it. Well, you said, want to go. Let's go ahead and vote right now and go ahead and send it on through. Chris, it's a touchy subject. When you got people that's barely making it now. I know the average person right here only makes $1,100 a month on Social Security. $1,100 a month. They get 3% retirement. They're going to retire with a big wad of money. So why should the people y'all represent make so much less and y'all make so much higher? It don't make sense, Chris, what I'm saying. Mr. Thompson, you told us, bring it to the people. All I'm asking, let the people vote on it. Get you a good price, $75, $50, whatever, and bring it to us. Let us decide what we need. You don't know my bills. I don't know your bills. But I know where I work at, there's a lot of people come down there. It's desperate right now. A lot of people right now living in sheds behind their houses. They can't, a single wide trailer right now in Bradford County is $900 a month. A double wide, $1,200 a month. So Gordon done a good job with it. A great job. And there's a lot of counties out in the Panhandle that does volunteer. They're full of them. And they're not getting sued. They're going right along with it because they can afford it. So you look at that, there's a lot that I can bring up, but we just need to look at it. And please, 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 don't forget who you represent. And you told us last time you're going to vote on it now. Don't go back on your word. That's what you told us. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Jeannie Baker.
Hello, I'm Jeannie Baker. I live at 10100 Southwest 95th Way in Hampton. And we're not really opposed of this firehouse. I think it could be a good idea. I'm very, very concerned, like he said earlier, about our elderly people. We have many, many people in Bradford County that are elderly. They're on a fixed income. They cannot afford this kind of tax for us. It's really concerning to me that I know people here in Bradford County making less than $1,000 a month. And I just think this is going to be a terrible hardship on them. I'm very interested to find out if anyone in this committee, or if we could either get a group up, has anyone investigated grants? I know we get free money in lots and lots of places. And I really think we need to reach out to other communities and look at granting. If we have done that here, I would be very interested to know what the outcome. I don't know if anybody knows, but were we turned down, or did we even investigate this? I think that probably there's a lot of retired people in our community that would love to write grants. We have a lot of education people here that's retired that I think, I'd be happy to be on a committee. I'm not like the best writer, but I have a son in college and he would be happy to prove writing. So I would think that we should really look at doing grants. The other thing is, has anyone here called our governor? We have an awesome Florida governor. Has anybody invited him to come here? Put that out on the table. Does he know that we're having these issues and that we need help? I would think that we should have started there if we haven't. The other thing is I think we should look at the whole in general budget for Bradford County. Our county has a lot of issues going on with the schools. We're closing Hampton and Brooker. What is our future plans? I understand that we are, school budgets are different budgets than this. What's on the plan for the grounds at the schools? Are we selling the properties? Why not invest in something that would bring us some revenue? We need to look at opening businesses or doing something with those school properties and maybe generate revenue that way. Other than the budgeting of the school properties, another thing, and I know Gordon's not here, this is not personal for you, Denny, but our police office, I love y'all, I'm not defending, I'm not complaining, but I want you to know, we have a lot of police cars. We spend a lot of money on probably gas, and we have part-time people driving their cars home. And have we looked at cutting budgets in that direction? Because I don't see why we can't just park the car at a place, and when I report to my duty station, you go to your duty station and you get in every day and you drive to wherever you need to go. Do we need a police car at all the schools? I can understand the high school, possibly the middle school. I don't know how many kids get transported in a police car every year, but I can't imagine that many elementary school kids having to go in a police car somewhere unless you're just taking them home because a parent didn't pick them up. So I'm very concerned that we have how many cars? You can do the math as well as I can. We have cars that sit around in places. I believe we have police driving the cars like personal owned vehicles. I personally work for the federal government. I do car driving of the government cars. I am not allowed to bring that car to my house. They furnish me gas to go to where I need to go to my duty station. But when I park at my facility where I drive to work and then get in my car and go home. I think we could spend a lot less money in that just in itself if we could skinny up the budget, look at the overall budget and decide, where we can cut some costs, maybe downsize a car or at least, minimize this part-time driving and going home and doing some of these things. Another thing is desk audits. And I know this is going to be a touchy subject for people. As people retire, the guy over here that's making so much money, when we have jobs that people retire from, does anybody in this town or anywhere in Bradford do a desk audit? Most people, we could either downsize those jobs, cut the salaries, a little bit when we hire new people, let them work into future jobs with higher pays, or do desk audits and determine maybe possibly redirecting and consolidating some of the duties to other places and maybe minimize a job. I know we have 5 people here, and I know that you all get paid here to do this as well. And it troubles me a little bit that you have extra income coming in and we don't have extra income. And I think that this is bad planning on your part, same way that you would decide this was the first thing to do is to tax our people.
Y'all have to consider a whole bunch of things, but in your discussion and in your fact finding and the million decisions y'all got to make, if that particular thing comes up, whether it matters or not, I'm telling you on record it does. If somebody disagrees with me, I'll be glad to talk to them. Any of y'all are free to call me at my office and be glad to discuss it and why I think it's relevant. But I do want y'all to know that in y'all's decision making. I know y'all got a lot of decisions to make. Thank y'all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Kate Ellison.
Kate Kate Ellison, 971 Southeast 32nd Way, Melrose, Florida, in Bradford County. It's a complex subject, and you all have heard a lot of different opinions about it. And
I know, Mr. Saxon mentioned about whenever we get to that point, but I guess I have a concern about the cost for the engaging a consultant. When we're trying to look at what our budget will be, it doesn't make sense to me yet to engage the consultant before we make a decision about whether we would pursue doing the assessment. And I think before we do an assessment, we need to determine what our budget is, so that we know what kind of money we're working with. And then what we need to provide for, for the department. So I'm having a little difficulty with that. If that makes sense.
I think so. And Ms. Roden was kind enough to provide me with this, which was provided by the consultant before. The first phase that I said was already complete included 6 deliverables. Prepare a critical event schedule including key dates for necessary actions and deliverables from project kickoff through initial billing of the charges. Meet with county staff to discuss process and identify funding and operational objectives and other circumstances unique to the county. Obtain and analyze historic call data, parcel data, prior public safety budgets, and proposed budget information. Develop apportionment methodologies for allocating the cost of fire protection and EMS services among the parcels in the county. Appear before the board to present an executive summary of the analysis, including available apportionment methodologies, potential rate scenarios, and actions required for implementation if the board elects to proceed with one or more of the proposed revenue sources. And prepare a resolution of intent to use the tax bill collection method for assessments imposed to fund fire protection and EMS services. That's phase 1. With some minor tweaking, that's done. You'll have to obviously update dates, schedules, that sort of thing, because it's 3 years later. But other than updating some dates, that's complete. Phase 2 is the implementation phase. So you're correct that there isn't a lot of work for the consultant to do other than those updates until the board says we're ready to implement an assessment. One of the things that I think the consultant will be able to do that I said is he can come back and present to the board, and at no additional cost, other options that are available to you besides an assessment. That's only one methodology for collecting money to supplement or support a fire rescue department. There's an MSTU method, there's an MSBU method, there are other taxation mechanisms available to counties and cities to fund these services. So he's happy to come do that. That's not going to cost the county. But at the point the board says we'd like to move forward with this, then you'll incur that additional phase 2 cost where he prepares the ordinances, and I can read you those if you want them, additional 5 action items. But the reason why you won't incur that cost until you decide to move forward is you don't have to prepare all of those things or do any of those tasks unless the board says, yes, we want to impose an assessment and you vote to do that.
Okay, and just one other thing. Why can't we utilize the resources that we have? You know, we have our clerk, we have our, budget management, we have resources within our county. Why can't we do our own analysis and data collecting and save that $40,000?
Yes, ma'am.
I would equate this
There you go.
to brain surgery. This is the most specific, narrowly tailored form of law that exists in local government law. No offense to Mr. Thompson, I'm certainly willing to say it for myself. There is no one on our team that has the background, experience, and skills to be able to do this kind of work. In as much as you wouldn't go to your GP when you needed brain surgery, I would not feel comfortable recommending to this board that you go down the route of implementing a fire assessment or establishing an MSTU or an MSBU without engaging an expert on that subject. We need only look across the river to Union County who attempted to do just that, utilize their own in-house people to impose an additional tax. And it was found to be inappropriately done, and you know, I'm not gonna go into the details of where they are now, because I don't think they've sorted it out, but they were ultimately unable to do what the citizens voted and told them to do, because they didn't follow the proper procedure and didn't comply with the legal requirements. But this is hyper-technical, and you need someone who really knows what they're doing in order to do this.
Okay, and then my last little thing is, can we not benchmark with other sister counties, sister facilities, sister cities to see what they've done and been like to do?
Sure, and when we started this conversation in 2018, it was based on following what Baker County did. In fact, we had several meetings with their staff. They used the same consultant to implement their assessment. They used Mr. Rowe at Bryant Miller Olive when Baker County implemented their assessment. And I would just say the one concern about very simply comparing ourselves to neighboring counties is that it's my understanding, and Mr. Parrish may be better able to speak to this, but for $85, Baker County gets one full-time firefighter. So we're not talking about one full-time firefighter. That simply will not meet the needs of Bradford County. So when you compare how many parcels we have, what our fire rescue budget is, how that budget gets spread across those parcels, that's why each county has to do this themselves, because it's simply not apples to apples when you're looking at different populations, different square footages, that sort of thing. But I applaud Director Parrish for reaching out to Baker, Alachua, Clay, Union, Levy, Gilchrist, Dixie. I mean, we've done as much comparison as we possibly can on any number of factors, salaries, benefits, all of those sort of things. And as I said before, we're right on par with everybody that we're supposed to be on par.
Mr. Riddick?
Sure. First of all, I thank everyone for coming tonight. I thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. The bottom line is, and I've been told this several times, it's the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility to provide adequate fire protection for all the citizens of Bradford County. Now, what's adequate? A 10-minute response time, 20-minute response time? Just about two meetings ago, we had people in here that were upset because of the response time to a fire in Brooklyn. When you call 911, you're having probably the worst day of your life. And you need help, and you need it right then. Every second is like forever. I could name several incidents with my own dad, with him laying on a concrete floor, totally out, eyes rolled back in his head. You're in a full-out panic mode. You need help, and you need it right then. Just in our last meeting, the sheriff let us listen to a 911 call of that little baby, that the mom and dad was just totally in an uproar panic. The baby wasn't breathing, was already turning blue. If our team did not respond, that baby would be dead right now. So it's a matter of life and death. I mean, if you're in a car wreck and that thing's upside down, you need Joe's life to get out, and it's on fire. Believe me, you want that fire truck or somebody there right then. And I pray everybody in this room can go through life and never need to call 911. But just in this room right here alone, I know there's people in there that's already needed the call. They needed it there right now. And believe me, nobody on this board wants to raise taxes. I mean, we don't. But at the same time, as county commissioner, it's my responsibility to make sure if you pick up that phone and call 911, somebody's going to respond. And respond as quickly as possible to save either your life or your children's life, grandchildren, or somebody. This is a decision I know we're not going to take lightly. It's a tough decision. I mean, for everybody in here, I know you're my friends or whatever. The last thing I want to do is tax your money. But like I said, I feel like we need to move forward, but I think it needs, not think, I know it needs to be open and honest. I know that when we start getting further down the line, and to answer your question, sir, I hope, there's got to be some way you can call somebody and say, hey, I own property, so-and-so and so-and-so, what's it gonna cost? And we need to have a number so you know what it's gonna cost. And, like I said, that's all I got to say at this time, but we need something that works. We need something to protect our citizens, all the citizens. And, so anyway, thank you all for coming out. I thank you for your time, and I do want to be transparent and open and honest. And if you need me, call me.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes, like Mr. Riddick said, this is a very difficult situation. Nobody wants to take your money. Nobody wants to take $1 from you, as it's been said. Nobody. But at the same time, just like Mr. Riddick said, I was moved to tears at our last meeting because that 1-month-old baby wasn't breathing. And I could hear the mother begging God, just to please God, let it breathe, as they're racing to find somebody that can help them. Folks, when they walked in, because they got to somebody, they got to the rescue unit, and they started appropriate CPR and brought the baby back. When they walked into the room, I could barely keep from crying. Most of you, apparently a lot of you, have not had a house fire. And a lot of you can say, we don't want it, we don't need it. We have to make a decision. We have to make a decision for a lot of people. And let me tell you one thing that rocks my mind. I've talked to my mom, who is one of those that live off $1,100 a month. And I asked her, I said, Mama, what would you do if you had to pay that tax? She said, well, honey, I just have to put a little bit away every month. My mom don't have money. I don't, and why everybody thinks that we've got a bunch of money and that we should be paying everybody. Folks, it's not like that. That's not the way it is. By the way, I go talk to my people in my district. I love the people in my district. I care about the people in my district. But I cannot imagine a child burning up in a home because I said, we don't need a fire department. We don't want to pay for it, and we don't need it. Because there's not one family member in my family that I can put a price on. I can't do it. I love them, and if it costs me $3 million, I don't want them to die in a house fire. I don't want to see any of you die in a house fire. And you can talk about that all you want to, but let me tell you something, they put their life on the line every day. For you, for every one of you, even the ones who talk about them. Every single one of you. Folks, it's not easy sitting up here, hearing you criticize us and everything. We thank you for your comments, because some of them, maybe we can go visit that. Maybe we can look at that. There are times when we can take your suggestions and really make it worthwhile. So folks, we care about y'all. We didn't take this job for the money. Trust me. Because I get phone calls every day of the week. I get phone calls when I'm at home. I get phone calls when I'm on vacation, but I don't turn you away. I listen to everyone, and then I go and try to find somebody that's going to help you. If we didn't care about you, we definitely wouldn't be sitting up here. And this is difficult, no matter what you think. It's a very hard decision. And we're going to rack our brain, and we're going to do the best we can to do the best for you. I wish it was $1. I wish it was free. But it can't be. So, forgive me. Maybe I shouldn't have said all that. But it means a lot to me. And I just want to do that. We're trying to do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Andrews. Commissioner Thompson?
Like the commissioner said, it's Andrews.
Can't hear you. Can't hear. There you go.
Like the other two commissioners said, it's a decision we all got to make, we all have to work together on this. I mean, we can't do without either one of them. I'm looking out right now, I've got a good friend in this audience. And I'm proving that too. When I got hit, they was out there. And my friend sitting out there, when y'all's meal caught on fire, they was out there. So, we just got to work together. We got to have more meetings. We got to get the price where, the citizens can afford it. Your bigger businesses, these big buildings, some way we got to get that, utilized. So, y'all just bear with us. We'll work with y'all, and I appreciate each and every one of y'all coming out. That shows a lot of concern. Thank y'all.
Mr. Jordan, can I make one more comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I thank each of you for coming and the comments that you made, and we had some excellent suggestions from you about what we can do in terms of the budget, and some of the suggestions are excellent in terms of a possible fee. But the important thing is that we need our fire and rescue for Bradford County. When my house catches fire, I want somebody there. If I had a medical emergency, I want somebody there. Our first home, Mr. Parrish, it burned down because there wasn't enough water. We didn't have the resources that you guys have now to make sure that we have the equipment and everything needed. So our home burned down. My mother in 97, we called the rescue. She went into cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, because the train held us up, we didn't get to the hospital in time, but rescue was there. But thank God we're going to have an overpass so people can get there. But the point I'm trying to make is we need fire and rescue for our citizens. Some may say, no, I don't want it, but we need it. And we have an obligation to make those tough decisions that you elected us to make those tough decisions and not to run away from them. We need it. But the thing that's most important is being fair and reasonable to our citizens in terms of that cost. Doing our proper analysis about what resources we have, what it would cost, and what would be reasonable for our citizens to pay. That's the bottom line. And if we can be reasonable with our citizens, the citizens will accept the decision that we make. And that's the bottom line, what would be the cost. And we need to do those analysis of what our budget is, know what our resources are, and how we can possibly fund it for our community. But thank you all, because the gentleman who mentioned about $100 assessment, for example, will put you at your budget. That's just one example. And some of the other things that we could possibly do. Look at what other resources we have to possibly fund. But let's do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. So just a couple things I want to add. One, about the impact fees. We have talked about the impact fees in the past. We had a moratorium on impact fees, and then last year we raised the moratorium and we went back to the $500 impact fee. Is that right?
I don't think we did not reimpose the impact fees.
So
Still
the
researching.
amount that we previously had was $500, and then when we discussed possibly putting the $500 back into the impact fee, we even discussed raising that to $2,500 for an impact fee. And we have had, just in the last year, a tremendous amount of growth in new homes coming into Bradford County. And so certainly, as we go through our budget discussions, that will come up again. So it's not falling on deaf ears. We have already, discussed that in our last budget season, certainly discuss it again this year. And, what that number is, at that point is the juice worth the squeeze, which is exactly what I said before. If it's only, so many homes that are coming in and, at that point with the impact fee and the amount of those fees being split up into certain areas, again, is it, going to really have an impact without raising it too high, to a point to where, we may not have any growth. And then our infrastructure, we don't have infrastructure. The city has the water and the sewer. Everybody outside of the city limits is on septic and wells. So again, that's just something we don't have, and I don't think that at this point anybody in this room is willing to pay an assessment for new infrastructure as it applies to water and sewer. It is something that needs to be addressed, and whether that's through annexation from the city so that we can get to some of these outlying areas to be able to provide for more economic development and growth, then again, that's something that we need to sit down and talk to the city with as a joint meeting and see where we go from there. I don't know. I know there's, I know a lot of the previous commissioners that sat on this board before we did. And a lot of decisions that were made prior to us coming on this board too. So this didn't happen overnight. Okay, our need for fire did not happen overnight. Okay, and I don't know, and growing up here and reading the newspaper, I would have certainly thought that was a noble thing if any of the other commissioners ever gave their salary back, and I don't know that any of them ever did.
Some of them sure.
So if they did, then, that's something I missed. But again, just as Ms. Andrews was saying, I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of, I have people tell me, you didn't have to call me back at 8 o'clock at night. Well, there's nights I don't get home until 8 o'clock. And when I'm sitting at my desk at work and I get phone calls, those phone calls I take. If I have to get up and walk out of my office, I take those phone calls. And again, just as Ms. Andrews said, I try to get answers for everybody that calls me, and I get calls from outside of my district, from other people that are outside of the district. So, again, we don't set the salary. It's set by population. And again, I don't know of any commissioners, that are throughout the, counties, 67 counties in Florida that give back their salary. So, again, that's just a comment on that. As far as budget cuts, Ms. Rubin did an excellent job last year. One of the things that I said in that meeting that we had when we discussed fire was that I felt like we needed to borrow the money from within if we were going to try to fund our fire department. And even with the $1 million that Ms. Roden and the rest of our staff was able to cut out of our budget, as you can see, it's still not enough. So that's why we're here. That's why we're having this discussion. So, Mr. Rayburn, as far as your comments, as far as across the board what we made, just keep in mind and be very mindful of this, that I'm still not eligible for retirement until after year 5, and we have 2 new commissioners that will have to go to year 5 also. So just readjust the numbers if you're saying those numbers. So.
$311,000, that's from y'all.
Again.
And from me, that's from y'all.
Again. I let you speak, you let me speak.
Right, again.
I let you speak, you let me speak.
That's fine.
Okay, so I'm just saying, across the board, that number, is not representative of what this board is. And I'm only saying that because, again, numbers get out there and people hear these numbers and those are not accurate numbers.
Let me say Denny then. Denny's at fault then, I reckon.
Okay, so again, thank you. And at this time, I want to bring Mr. Parrish back up to address any comments that were made and be able to answer any questions that anyone has.
Just a couple, Mr. Chairman. I thought that there were several great suggestions looking to raise revenue for paying for the fire rescue department. I just want to address a couple of them. Someone talked about privatizing, maybe looking at privatizing it. We've done that analysis 3 times since I've been here, since 2008. We've talked to Century twice and Lifeguard Ambulance another time. They provided us with documentation that said it would take quite a bit of tax subsidy on top of what the budget already was. And we can provide that to you at any time. But we've looked at that. Welcome it again if that's so what the board chooses to do. The other thing is someone mentioned grants. The year the sheriff had it, he did apply for the SAFER grant, what's called the SAFER grant, to pay for salaries. Not successful in getting that. We'll be reapplying in the fall for that, and we'll see what happens for there. The sheriff was successful in securing $850,000 with appropriations. That's an ongoing project at Hilburn Springs right now to help that community. And that's all the questions, or all the answers I have as far as what was recommended to you guys. I'm glad to answer any questions if any came up. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, can you give him 2 minutes? I get 2 minutes.
Billy, we had public comment.
Excuse me, but that's why I asked if we're gonna get another opportunity.
You will
to
get
ask
another
other
opportunity
questions.
as we move forward with our
But you
discussion.
give him 2 minutes, Chris.
I just
Give him 2
said,
minutes to say.
I just said we will have an opportunity to do
Well,
that as we
you
move
could have
forward
done later
with
on
discussion.
just then.
Billy,
You mean tonight or at a different meeting?
at a different meeting, as we move forward with our discussion.
Okay.
That's wrong.
I
I'm
mean,
not saying,
how is that wrong?
Well, you gave him two.
We gave you an opportunity to speak, and I
You
gave
gave it to him
I
too.
gave you 5 minutes.
But you gave him, who is he to me?
I gave you 5 minutes, Billy.
Well, I'm saying though, you gave him 2 minutes right now. Can you give 2 minutes and I'll be quiet? I'll leave you alone. I promise you.
When you said I gave who 2 minutes?
You just gave Mr. Parrish there,
I
manager
gave
there.
Mr. Yeah,
He's public right now, I'm public.
I gave him, he's one of our directors.
No, but he's a public though. This is your commissioner.
Okay, Billy, I'm not gonna give him.
Right. He's right. You're not right, Chris. Give me 2 minutes and I'll leave you alone. He's right.
Address the public, Billy.
Okay, come on. Again, you know where I live at. So I'm not saying we don't need fire service at all. We need something, but we don't need no $300 a year, what they're imposing on us. I know we gotta have something. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying, live within your means. If we only afford 10 firefighters right now, let's go 10. But you gotta cap it out before we grow. I mean, you gotta grow intact. You can't tax and grow. So if we got 10, we can do it $100. That's fine. I got a problem with that, but not $300. And because they're union now, Mrs.
He
She
said
told
I
me,
told him, but he gave me that number.
no, ma'am, Miss
And I
Andrews,
said-
you told me it's a pizza. You said it's a pizza a month, Billy. If you
No, I
bought
didn't, Mr.
Miss
Ray.
Andrews, now you did. You told me on the phone. You said,
You said that. It came from the last time.
no, ma'am. You told me. I called you. And you says, she said, you just buy pizza a month. I said, Miss Andrews, I like pizza.
I never told you that. Mr. Rayburn, I have never.
A pizza a month. You told me it'd be $300.
No, sir.
Cost 25 times
That is
12 is
not true,
$300.
Mr. Rayburn.
As I said-
Yes, ma'am, it was. You told me that, Miss Andrews.
All right.
I said,
As I said in the meeting.
Right.
We have not discussed that as a board. Okay, so we
Then
have
how
not
did you-
discussed a $300. We have not discussed any fee whatsoever.
But we
on
don't
this
know
board.
what the fee will be
That's right.
until the formulation is done.
You can pull all the meeting
No.
minutes and you will find it. We have
Okay.
not had a discussion
Okay.
about what that fee is.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying, Chris, I'm not against the fire. Hey, we gotta have something. But there's a lot of people in the Panhandle don't have a full-time fire. McLean don't have full-time fire. There's 600 square miles. We're 300 square miles. Go do your math. I mean, their people ain't dying in groves over there. They're getting serviced. So why do we got to go and jump out? And we got to crawl before you walk. What I'm saying, crawl before you walk. I accept the $75 to $100. I don't mind a bit.
Okay.
You know, so that's what I'm
Thank
saying.
you, Billy.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if, I just want to have one more comment. I mean, if, I think that the government has a responsibility, a certain responsibility to provide, and certainly one of them, actually 2 of them. I'll say it as public safety, but that is police and fire rescue, okay? If we started from 0 and said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna provide you with the services that we feel like you deserve as taxpayers. And it's the sheriff's office, and it's fire and rescue. And then we said, and anything that comes after that, we'll see what's left over, okay? So whether it's your libraries, whether it's your senior center, whether it's your roads, you know, at that point, you know, see what's left. Because when you call 911, if somebody's breaking into your house, you expect for a deputy to be there. If your house is on fire, or if somebody is trapped in a vehicle, and you call 911, you expect fire and rescue to be there. Okay? If you want trash picked up out on your road, and you want your ditches mowed, and you want your roads graded, then maybe we look at that as another service. Okay? Because again, I don't think that that is a responsibility of government, but I do think that what's paramount to all of this is public safety. And that's all I have to say about it.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
would you mind if the gentleman, I'd like to hear
I was curious,
his comments.
you know,
Can
fire.
you step back up to the microphone, please? Sure.
You call 911, police come out, but when EMS comes out, I know in different parts of the state, there's different circumstances, but is there a fee? Does EMS collect a fee for coming out to somebody's residence? Yes? No?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And we have an enormous amount of those fees that never get paid.
And whose responsibility is it to collect it?
We have a collection agency that does that.
And do we have numbers as to how much we're not collecting and how much we are collecting, how much
We're given an update on that from Mr. Parrish. If not monthly, then we get it quarterly. But
and how much
nonetheless,
how much are we in arrears on collections as a county?
It's,
You know, I'm a numbers guy, okay?
yeah.
And the problem that I have is that we have an open forum here, and the first thing that I heard was that we're looking to have an assessment, and not looking to have ideas as to how to fund this, but to have an assessment. Now, I don't know if, as county commissioners, if you have any focus groups or representation of your constituents in each area of the county, but there are so many different ways to raise money for this. I don't think anybody is saying we don't want fire, we don't want rescue. I think that a lot of people have a problem in how the board has not come up with better ideas to help fund this. And if you don't have it amongst yourselves, then you can have focus groups, and you can have maybe draw on business people, people that may have other ideas other than the five of you sitting up here, and to pull on the resources of the citizens instead of deciding for us what you think we need to have. Ask and get a representation of what the temperature is of the people of Bradford County. Is this something that has ever been put up to a vote as to whether people want increased fire protection, and has it passed? Is there any type of structure for that to happen, for actual representation? Because it's great to sit up there, and I understand everybody wants safe babies, and I don't want to see any child or any elderly person suffer because they did not have proper EMS or fire rescue. But it's also up to the individual people that live in the counties as to what extent they're willing to fund this. There are a lot of people on fixed incomes here, okay? And a lot of people, it's not just, they don't have that little piece to save. They don't have that little piece to go the extra distance. And I just want you guys to bear in mind that you guys represent 27,000 people, and has the temperature been taken on those 27,000 or 22,000 of voting age? Would they vote for an increase of to whatever the recommendation is going to be? Or does it even matter? That's my comment.
Mr. Parrish, you want to share that number with us?
Sure. I just think all these numbers should be out there.
They are out there.
Where?
We have read it. Like I said, it's on our agenda, in our consent agenda. Every time it comes up, the
You
numbers
know,
are there.
I was on
The numbers are there.
Bradford County
Mr.
Commissioner's website, and maybe I just don't know how to maneuver through it, but is there a vehicle that I can look at to see how much we haven't collected, how much is due, how much a call costs, and to break it down and to see how we can best fund what it is that we need to have for the county?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. It's a really good question. I will tell you that we had traditionally generated about 56% of our operating budget from fees for services, grants, and those type things. We get the other remaining balance either from the general fund or from other sources outside of what we're able to generate. We have a collection rate of about 53% right now of the billing that we charge out to. And we do have a report that gets generated that I'm happy to, at your direction, do with it what you want me to do with it. But I can tell you that in our industry, about 60% of people pay their medical bills and the others don't. And we turn them over to collections, we put liens against them, we take them to small claims court. We've done all of those things above to try to increase the collection rate. Bottom line is, it's not like a store. If I go into the store and I don't pay you for the groceries, you don't let me go get groceries anymore. My business, if you call 911 100 times and you only pay me 90, I have to come to you all 100 times. So we have a little over half of our operating budget is, and those numbers are available as well. But I'm happy to provide them to anybody that wants them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Parrish. And we do get that in our consent agenda. Those numbers are usually, in the $70,000 to $80,000 range. The numbers of calls that we end up writing off. Mr. Saxon?
If the board members are finished, I know it's been a while, so I was going to simply remind Mr. Chairman, remind you that my recollection is that Ms. Andrews made a motion to re-engage our consultant, Brian Miller-Olive, and Mr. Thompson seconded the motion. And we've now had public comment and discussion.
Okay. So after the public comment discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Commissioner Spooner?
This motion is to engage the consultant in my hearing. Did I hear correctly? We're voting on to engage the consultant, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Hearing that our staff said that there's no expertise on the staff to help with this, then I have to go yay, but I want to say nay. But yay.
Right now? Right now.
Mr. Thompson?
Yay.
Commissioner Andrews? Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
And Commissioner Doherty, aye. Motion carries 5-0. County Attorney's reports. Sheriff's report. Sheriff's not here. Mr. Thompson, clerk's report. Okay. Any further comments from the commissioners?
Just one comment, and I want to make sure I get the facts right on this. But I thought right before 911, it was on the ballot to vote for a $75 assessment to help the volunteer fire department. Is that correct? Like I said, this is quite a while ago, but I don't remember for sure.
I don't know the specific answer to that. Chief Carter can maybe answer better.
Sure. As I was informed, I actually had this discussion with Chief Watts from City Stark last night. He advised that the vote was supposed to happen on 9/11. So the day that 9/11 happened, nobody left their homes. They stayed glued to their TVs. And I believe it was for $45 to assist the volunteers.
So did the vote ever happen?
The vote never happened. Or I'm sorry, the vote did happen.
But it got turned down.
Right.
Okay, that's.
Well, but that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, yes.
What's been going on? I guess I'm new to this type of format, okay? But I just don't understand why the board isn't better prepared with answers to questions and for alternatives to raising funds. I guess it's beyond what I can understand. You guys are elected, yes?
Yes.
You're all elected, right? And you're here to represent everybody, and yet I see a lot of disgruntled people here that feel like they're not getting their representation. And it's very easy to say, assess, but you have to live within a budget, and everybody wants everything, but somehow there has to be a means of paying for it and affording it. If not, you don't have it, you do without it. So if they don't want to have an assessment, then you have to figure different ways of doing it. And I'm just not hearing any creativity from anybody up on the board. There was, gentleman mentioned, the attorney, that a $500 impact fee was turned down and was supposed to go back, it didn't go back. And why is there no accountability for why there is no impact fee?
The reason the impact fee, we just decided not to, it was in a moratorium, and we just decided not to reenact the impact fee at the time. So like I said, it's coming back up for discussion, so, and what?
If the county is growing, you're looking to penalize and take it from the people that are already here as opposed to people that want to come in.
And as I said, we're coming into our budget season, and it's going to be discussed again. So
Is everybody new up here? Are you guys? So you guys have had this ability to enact this impact fee a year ago, 2, 3, 4, 5, however long it hasn't been there, but have chosen not to.
We did.
Why?
We did.
Why have you chosen not to put an impact fee in?
We chose not to at the time because, as I said, creating, if it was $500, and if you go and you look at the amount of homes that were built in the previous year, that pot of money does not add up to a lot.
But 2,500 would, right?
2,500 would.
Okay.
And that discussion came up, and again, we decided to keep it under a moratorium again, and this year it comes up every year, and it will come up again this year.
But something is better than nothing. I get what he's
Just bad choices. I just hear bad choices from the commission that has existed here.
No choices.
And fuel is up, inflation is on the rise, and yet you want increased taxation on the people that live here, as opposed to having looked into the crystal ball, which that's what you're there for, to be able to look at that. So a $500 impact fee, no. 2,500, no. 1,500, no. I mean, I just don't see you guys doing your job to represent and to come up with the alternatives that are there. They're there. If you guys don't have them, you guys can get the people that do have them.
In our budget season last year, we agreed not to enact it. So again, it's coming up again, and we know with the amount of growth that's coming, that we will have that discussion again, and we will certainly consider that. So
that's just poor choices.
I lived in Bradford County my whole life, every day about Kenny Thompson. It's a rural area, and we accept that country people. There are a lot of city people maybe that live here don't understand that. We ain't gonna have quite the service you got in town. They can move to town if they want to. This impact fee deal is gonna hit our children mostly. My children already got a place. And if they had to pay impact fee, I'd pay it for them. It's gonna hit the poor children. You can't just tax people coming in here for impact fee. It's illegal. So all this impact fee is just passing it on to somebody else. I don't know what you'll do about the fire department. I think you're gonna do the best you can do. We're sitting up to a sawmill. If you ain't got a fire department that burned down, we got 300,000 or 400,000 for the building, and they want to. Some people want to tax a building they ain't got nothing under it. The same thing with a brand new $5 million sawmill, which is unfair, and a lawyer would decide in court. What we've got to do is, y'all, may I step up?
yes, sir.
I mean, I trust Kenny Thompson to do the best he can. Me and him probably on the same brainwave more than others. Then I also realize that there are people that think they want somebody there to rescue them right that second. I ain't never spent that much time scared. I was cut all to pieces one day, and one thing I made sure was my men didn't see me crying and scared. If it's going to be my last breath, let it be, and I wasn't going to go down crying. But we live in the country. Now, we're going to have fire protection. End of story. Probably the only fair way is electrical tax. You take that sawmill building. You could spend $30 million on it and never change.